What's up guys, your boy's back and better than ever, and boy do we have a lot to cover today. Since Apex has gotten so competitive lately to the point where even pubs are sweaty, you cannot afford to fall behind, and these 4 tips I'm going to be sharing with you today will help ensure you stay ahead of everyone else. Now these tips are not only easy to master, but they're also the things that the majority of the player base are not doing. So if you're trying to get better at Apex, you definitely want to stick around, but before we get into it, I want to let you all know next week's video is going to be about how a plat player hit masters. So without further ado, my name is Alpha Drew, let's get into it. Now that we've covered 2 major roles and their jobs during team fights, I want to talk about a skill that's going to save you during team fights. When you're in a fight, obviously shields will get cracked, and what's more obvious is if you're facing a good opponent or team, they're not going to allow you to easily pop a bat, and this is where this tip comes into play. If you have the chance to thirst any downed enemies, this not only takes 1 point of view from the enemy team, but it's also 1 less knockdown shield they have to work with. Now, let's say you have a death box near you and you're fighting a 1v1 and your shield gets cracked. You can literally go in the death box while fighting and shield swap in their face, and by doing this, you should be able to win the fight. And for this next tip, we're going to continue from the last situation. You just revived your teammates and you hear a third party coming in. You aren't 100% healthy yet, and you don't have time to full heal. But what can you do to even the playing field out in a matter of seconds? Remember, when you finish an enemy team, their death boxes will have fresh swaps. Now pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you. This is what we call dropping shield swaps. And how you do it is by dropping your shield you currently have down on the ground and using the shield that's in the box. If they crack your shield, you have another shield in half a second, and your team is in the exact same situation as the previous fight. Only thing is, you're all going to be healthier than the other team. Assuming everyone pulls their weight in the fight, you should come out with the dub. This next tip here is something that requires you to be of a big brain in a sense. Let's say zone is closing in and you have great positioning. The only thing that would cause you to lose the game is a third party. What most people don't realize is they have the power to make other teams fight each other. Have you ever watched ALGS or a professional tournament where a team has great positioning that another team wants to take? Well, the way to keep that position is simple as just showing presence. By showing presence, you aren't necessarily committing to a fight, but you're telling the enemy team if they try to take your place, they will take a considerable amount of damage to the point where it may not be worth trying to contest you, forcing them to take another angle and fight another team. And believe me when I say this is one of the most underrated and probably the most unknown tip out there. And the final tip is related to positioning. It's making sure you stay disciplined to not give up your high ground for free. If there's a team you're fighting, there's no reason for you to drop on them right away. The only reason you can justify dropping down without any immediate danger is if the team you're fighting is low on health only after you have abused the head glitches. There's very few things more frustrating than losing a fight that was 100% in the bag. If you notice in this fight here, I had around 600 damage, and it was all because I was abusing the advantage of having the high ground. Because of this, we were able to 2v3 the team. To put it simply, dropping down to their level is literally you throwing away a big advantage. And now that we have these tips in your arsenal, I guarantee you will see an improvement in your gameplay. Hope to see you guys on the next week's video.